felt like a failure, to be honest. I felt like, you know, maybe I didn't do enough. Maybe I should have been more intentional in my AP classes. Maybe I should have done the dual enrollment. Like, you know, like what was it that they didn't accept me? Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Chelsea if you're new, and if you're not new, then welcome back. So this week I decided to start a brand new series that I call Life After College. And in this series, I'm going to be telling you guys my personal experience with graduating college, which I graduated 2 years ago now. Whoop whoop, shout out to Georgia State University and all of the recent graduates. And I'm going to be sharing with you guys the ups, the downs, the decisions that I've had to make, the sacrifices I've had to make, and just learning how to navigate life after college, because after college you really do become an adult. I thought I was an adult when I was in college, like, you know, freshman up until senior year. Nah, like not at all. So I'm going to be sharing with you guys how I handle real adulthood, some of the regrets that I feel like I have right now, and just things that I'm learning. So yeah, let's get into this. So I have my handy dandy notebook right here, which was actually given to me. And as y'all see, I have all of these sticky notes on what I'm going to be talking about in this video and in the subsequent videos after this one. So we're going to start with the beginning, obviously. So let me just share my story time. Let me just share how I got into college, right? So I graduated high school. Well, let me backtrack. I'm from Atlanta. Well, the outskirts of Atlanta. Okay, so I'm from Georgia, but I went to high school in South Georgia, Hampton, Georgia, and I graduated in 2015. Now, when I graduated, I was, you know, I had friends at that time who were going out of state for school. And, you know, as a high school student, like, you're just so infatuated with college life, getting out of your parents' home, you know, just being on your own, that type of thing. And I did not come from a family background where college was like was experience, really. Like, my parents did not attend a four-year university. I was a first generation college student. I had, you know, extended family members who went to college, but I did not have anybody in my close like family that went. And so it was very new for me. I didn't understand anything about tuition, financial aid, admission, you know, student loans. I had no knowledge of those. I really just had the information provided to me by high school guidance counselors, the college admissions people, and just the internet, honestly. And I filled out my application myself. I researched colleges myself, all of those things. I picked my major myself. I didn't really have anybody kind of ushering me through that process, really. So if you know me, you know that I am a self-starter. I am a quick learner. I'm a person who really likes to do things on her own. So it wasn't a problem for me to, you know, research and learn and all those things. So I ended up doing that. And a friend of mine was going to Howard University, and she was just telling me about the Black experience and the fact that it was a historically Black college university. And it just really intrigued me. And so I looked into it. They had the program that I wanted at the time. I was interested in nursing. My mom is a nurse, and so I wanted to follow in that route. You know, I felt like it was safe. I didn't really know anything else of what I wanted to do. My major I graduated with a major that was not what I started with, which I'll get into that later. But I researched the pre-nursing program at Howard, and I was intrigued by it. So I applied to several different schools. I applied to Howard University. I applied to Duke University. I did not apply to any Georgia schools because I really didn't want to stay in state for school. I really wanted to be out of state. I can't remember any other schools that I applied to besides like Howard, Duke. I think I might have applied to Emory. I can't remember. But I do remember that Howard was my first choice. And so when, that time when everybody was getting their college acceptances back, like that was a very stressful time because you also had finals, and I was class president at the time. So responsibilities for the senior class, like all of these different things. And I remember getting my first rejection letter, and I was so discouraged. Like, I was heartbroken. I felt like a failure, to be honest. I felt like, maybe I didn't do enough. Maybe I should have been more intentional in my AP classes. Maybe I should have done the dual enrollment. Like, what was it that they didn't accept me? Not realizing that God had other plans for me, and that the rejection was a form of God's protection. I really didn't have a close relationship with God at that time. So, I really didn't know that. But I kept going. And the fact that the school I got rejected from was Duke University. So it wasn't even my first choice. So I really wasn't, or shouldn't have been, too disappointed, because it was like I really wasn't trying to go here anyway. But I remember getting my letter from Howard University, and I'm going to try to find that because like I got accepted. And the fact that I had got accepted to my #1 top school choice was amazing for me. Like, I felt like, wow, okay, like this is it. I'm gonna go to Howard. I went and I toured the school. My parents and I, we went up there. We toured the campus. We toured the dorms. Like, I absolutely loved it. I was just envisioning what life would look like with me up there, and being a part of sororities and all of that good stuff. And when it came time to talk finances, when it came time to complete the tuition portion of the acceptance, I realized that I would have to take out a $25,000 loan just for my first year. It's like, this is not worth it for me, and no disrespect to anybody that has taken out student loans, because I still had to take out student loans even after that. But, at that time, I knew like $25,000 my freshman year, that just didn't sound right for me, So I accepted the fact that I wouldn't be going to Howard like I had hoped or imagined. And I was like, all right, so what's plan B, And that's when I think my mom encouraged me to look at in-state schools and then think about transferring, to Howard later on once I built up, credit and things like that. Because let me just say this too, I didn't get any scholarships. I ended up applying to Georgia State University, and I was late because I didn't apply to Georgia State because I didn't plan on staying in Georgia. So when I applied, it was like closer to the time where they were sending back acceptances and denials. So the amount of scholarships that they had available was very limited because I was late. So I ended up getting, I think, like a $500 scholarship for being like a Georgia resident or something like that. And I ended up getting accepted into Georgia State, same major, pre-nursing. And I was excited because I'm like, okay, I got accepted. I have a little bit of money, and the amount of money that it would cost me to attend school my first year was not a lot. I did take out student loans, and I'm trying to think. Yeah, I did take out student loans, and that was just that. So I got accepted. I sent in my, I think, intent to enroll, or whatever it's called. Like when you say yes, you accepted me, but now I'm saying yes, that I'm a go. I sent that in, and I just began to prepare. Like, I started looking at dorms. I started looking at, or applying for dorms. And this is just how God works, because like I said, I applied late. So the regular freshman housing that they had actually had a wait list. And I was on the wait list. And when you're on the wait list, it's not guaranteed that you're going to get accepted, that you're going to get a dorm or anything like that. So I was just like, well, it is what it is. God will work it out however he works it out. It was like July, and school was getting ready to start in like a couple of weeks. And I was kind of getting anxious because I didn't know like where I would be staying at and all of that stuff. And I get a call from the housing people, and they said, hey, we got to your application. We do have some availability, but they're only upperclassmen dorms. Now, looking back on it, like, I should have been real hyped, because what freshman was living in upperclassmen dorms their first year? Like, none, So I was like, okay. And at this time, it was called The Lofts, and it was right there on Edgewood, if you're familiar with the Atlanta area. So I stayed in upperclassmen dorm. Now, we can talk about my freshman housing experience because it was real ghetto. I ain't even gonna lie to you, it was real ghetto. 3 girls in 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, autumn hormones. Yeah, it was real ghetto. So, I accepted it. They gave me my date to move in and all the things that I needed and all that good stuff. So I was ready. Like, I started looking and shopping around. I went to Bed Bath & Beyond, like all these different places. And I moved in. Freshman year was an interesting time because at that time I was also in a relationship. Bless my little heart. I was in a relationship senior year of high school with this guy. I was 17, he was 20. Well, technically I was 18, he was 21, and I've always liked older guys, just saying. But we were in a relationship and we ended up breaking up the year that I went to college. So like the same month that I was getting ready to move in to my college dorm, he was like, yeah, I don't really know what I want. I don't want to string you along, blah, 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 blah. So I'm like, what do you mean string me along? Like, I don't mind waiting for you, boo. Like, I know. That was just my mindset at the time, young, vulnerable, whatever. So we ended up breaking up, but we didn't stop, like, seeing each other, if you catch my drift. So it became like a little situationship. So I moved into my dorm and I would still see him. He would still come over, things like that. But I also was into parties and everything like that. At the time I was working because I got my first job senior year of high school and I worked at Kroger. Okay, shout out to all the Kroger people. All right, I love working at Kroger. And I actually worked my way up in Kroger. I started off as a cashier and then I worked my way up to customer service, which I really loved, and then even up to floor manager. But when I was getting ready to transition into floor manager, that's when I started school and I realized I wouldn't be able to go back and forth because I also didn't have my own car. And it was difficult to try to get back and forth and things like that. So I just stayed on campus, found a job on campus, had a few jobs on campus actually, and that was my freshman year experience. Parties, classes, them 8 a.m.s, child, let me tell you, it's not for the faint at heart. I'm gonna just say that, but also being in a pre-nursing major, I absolutely loved being a pre-nursing major. I loved learning science, math. Math is my favorite subject. And I will say what I'm doing now, is very different from what I started out doing. Like, I had what I'm doing now with content and media and photography, videography, all of that, business coaching, that was not on my mind freshman year of college. Like, that was nowhere near, you know what I'm saying, what I thought I could do, make money from, or any of that. Like, I was comfortable with having a regular 9-to-5. Let me tell y'all my plans. I wanted to be a travel nurse in labor and delivery specifically. I've always loved labor and delivery. And I was going to be a travel nurse living either in Atlanta or LA and traveling back and forth to different places with monthly assignments, because I like to travel as well. And that was just going to be my life. So obviously God had other plans. Okay. But it was freshman year was lit. It was definitely lit. I loved it. I loved the people that I met. It was so much drama, okay? But it was just an amazing experience. And I definitely don't regret anything that I've learned freshman year, any of the experience that I've had, any of that. I will say that I wish I would have taken time between graduating high school and starting college to really figure out what it is I wanted to do. So that way I wouldn't have to change my major or try to figure out what I wanted to do or feel pressured into college. I really wish I would have taken at least 6 months to think about what it is I really want to do, what it is I'm really passionate about, and then go into college, because I definitely felt pressured going into college, from high school counselors, you know, and just the environment of everybody being like, oh yeah, I'm going here, I'm going there, whatever. And you could be a person that's like, well, I don't know what I want to do. But because everybody around you is talking about what they're doing, where they're going, what they're excited for, you kind of feel you can kind of feel pressured to do that. So any encouragement to those who are starting school, you're looking into college, things like that, definitely don't allow other people to pressure you. Like, you have to learn to know yourself and realize, like, I'm not ready for this. And regardless of how other people may feel, this is your life. This is your livelihood. Like, at the end of the day, you're going to be responsible for those student loan bills. You're going to be responsible for the degree, you know, all of those things. So it all falls back on you. And yes, God can work anything out. He always works things out. But he also gives us wisdom to be able to think for ourselves. So that's a little note for y'all. The end of freshman year, going into sophomore year, is when I built my relationship with God. And it wasn't like I was like trying to, you know. I remember having a few, maybe several pregnancy scares, which I talk about in my book. If you haven't already gotten it, Daughter Arise. And the last one that I remember was like May or of some sort. And it was Super Bowl Sunday. And I like, one thing led to another. We were in the act, and the contraceptive that we used broke, and we ended up having to go to CVS for a plan B. I was just like, wow, this is my life. Like, is this really happening right now? You know, especially because I had to pay for it. I like no lie, when we got to the register. And so let me backtrack. How it came about is it's Super Bowl Sunday. We had a contraceptive, you know, we get it on, it pops. He's like, yo, can you kind of like wipe it out? I'm like, I don't think that's really how it goes, but I don't know who your sex education teacher was too, so hey, whatever. And then we end up going to the CVS. Now we go to several CVS because we're downtown. It's Atlanta. It's like midnight, so nobody's there, but there's none on the shelf either. So we finally go to like the fourth CVS, and there's none on the shelf. And I, you know, you pray that prayer like, Lord, please, like, if you get me out of this situation, like I promise, you know. So we go to the register and we're like, hey, do you guys have any plan Bs? Yada, yada, yada. They're like, no, if you don't see any on the shelf, then we're out. But let me check over here in this little box. So she goes, checks the box. She pulls it out. I was like, oh, thank you, Jesus, you know. And so when we got ready to pay, he's like, oh, you got that? I was like, I wanted to say something, but I didn't. So I was like, yeah. And I used my little student card refund thing, paid for $60. And I knew then in my mind, I was like, yeah, no, this ain't gonna work. Because if you can't even afford this, like, how you gonna afford having a child? Like, I don't want to be with somebody that can't even like afford either one. So yeah, we just gonna cut this off. So we ended up, you know, cutting things off slowly, because you know, it's yeah. So where was I going with this? I just remember being like, Lord, like, this can't be my life. Like, I don't want to go through this back and forth. I don't want to keep, you know, like, just living this life the way I'm living it. Like, there has to be more to life than this, you know, because it just wasn't cutting it.
Not even giving what y'all said it was supposed to give. No, I wasted my money.
Like, I didn't feel fulfilled in my major in, you know, pre-nursing. I didn't feel fulfilled in that relationship. It wasn't like, no, it wasn't a relationship. And I was just like, yeah, there has to be more to life than this. And because I had grown up in church, I was familiar with the prayer that you pray of salvation. I was familiar with the altar calls, had done them multiple times. I was familiar with all of it. But it was a difference this time because I was the one initiating it. Like, it was like the Holy Spirit was on the inside of me, like prompting me. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't a pastor, it wasn't somebody else doing it for me. It was like me making that decision on my own by way of Holy Spirit. And so I was at work at the time. I was working overnight at this assisted living facility, and I was a nursing assistant. So like, I was a caregiver. And I was in the shower and I was just talking to the Lord about, like, there has to be more to life than this. And I just gave my life to God there. I was like, Lord, if I'm gonna do this, like, it's gonna be all or nothing, like 100% or 0%. Like, I'm not gonna do the back and forth. I'm not gonna be halfway in. Like, I can't do, like, I'm all or nothing. And I've always been like that. I just felt like a peace of God, you know, like rush over me. And that was it. It wasn't no crazy like hooping and hollering, like nothing like that. It was just like peace. And I remember like logging off Instagram for about 2 weeks, and I just used that time to really build a relationship with God. I was reading the Bible every day, like trying to learn. Like, I felt like a student, like I want to learn more, like I'm intrigued, I'm interested. And that really helped me with the following year, which was sophomore year, which we will talk about next week. Yeah, guys, that's it for this video. Tune back in next week for another episode of Life After College, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye.